Oh, look, we're live and it's early. Um, Good morning. Here, let's see if we can. We have decided,
What have we decided?
we've decided, dear friends, to try this new place.
Wow, it has a battery.
Yeah, honey, that's what I said to you.
I didn't know that.
I said we don't need to plug it in. It's battery.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I don't know. There was something about going live that I didn't quite realize was going live. But good morning.
This is a wonderful sunny morning, and this is one of those mornings where I wake up and I'm like, huh, what is it? Did I fall asleep and is it afternoon? Because I was so deeply asleep, which is great. I mean, it's really good for you.
It is. It is. But here we are, and we'll be getting started in just a moment. This might be where Teresa could find. Oh, look, here's a tin toy.
Oh, you mean our graphics department?
Our
Are
graphics
you gonna grab
department.
it?
I'm going to grab our graphics
Okay,
department.
and then we can show how we are,
Super prepared and graphically oriented.
yes. Is it wound up?
I am winding up our graphics department.
Okay, graphics department is ready. Does this mean we begin the show? We'll begin the intro to the show.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here we are. Days of traveling the world with information.
Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
Problem with the graphics department is it's so damn loud.
That's the whole ambiance for you, I
Travel
think,
the
right
world
there.
with knowledge and humanity and, zoonotic diseases.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock now.
All right. Yay. Okay, and this is now Bridge to a Better World. And I am Teresa Mitchell.
And I'm Ani.
And we're so glad you could join us. We're feeling gay pridey, and so we...
We're feeling rather queer.
Yeah,
It's
a queer morning.
Can I
Yes.
give personal information? We just had our 30th. It's the 30th anniversary of Teresa inviting me over for a beer.
Henry Weinhardt, it was.
It was Special Reserve.
Awful
It was
stuff.
It was it was 30 years ago. It was the best beer we could buy at the time. Anyways, I'm just gonna say
step up from Budweiser.
August, June 5th, the day that Teresa invited me over for a beer in 1994, and I never went home. So I did pay for rent for my cat for another 6 months before I admitted that I, in fact, had moved in with you rather gradually over the next 3 days or something like that. Anyway, so we've been together for 30 years, and it seems like a cause for celebration. So we're happy to be with you.
So happy Pride to you, and happy Pride to us.
Happy Pride to us all. And that, got us thinking about, well, being queer and what that's like at this point in the States, in this world today. And so we wanted to sort of spend today with an overview about our queer history and queer history, sort of the biggest picture. With with that, why don't we just go ahead and get started?
All right. It's been so politicized, and it's been politicized in a way to make people fearful of each other, and more importantly, fearful of themselves, fearful of their own natural and possible natural tendencies in a way that really makes people lash out. And that's just too bad, because really, if I have my preferences when it comes to my intersex nature and my transgender nature, my femininity, this would be something that I'd be perfectly happy, just not talking about, not in a big way, I suppose anyone's interested, or, it's not like I would hide it, but I wouldn't politicize it if it weren't politicized. But boy, is it politicized. I'm looking at the ACLU's map, and it's got a list of bills per state. And I don't think I can just turn my screen around and show it to you, but it shows all 50 U.S. states, and there isn't one of them that isn't shit stained with some sort of anti-LGBTQ activity. And they go from light colors in California and Nevada to very dark colors in Florida, and it's
Georgia looks pretty bad there. I think.
yep, it does. And I have another list of anti-trans bills, the anti-trans bill tracker specifically, because I was just reading an article yesterday, which is pointing out, I think, what we know, that yes, the neo-Nazis, by which I mean the GOP, seem to hate gays, but they don't want to press too hard on that because gays have been accepted. Gays, lesbians, less so bisexual, but anyway, the GNL.
We're just misunderstood.
GNL is in the house, right? But T is having a bit of problem, and people are echoing the bullshit that's coming out from places like the Pacific Justice Institute, which is the opposite of what its name implies. And they are saying that they don't, they're afraid that their kids are going to get transed. And this fear is so effective. It's really, for the Republicans right now, it is just solid gold. Their presidential candidate is a convicted monster. He's just a convicted monster. And I know they're embarrassed about it. And so they shout louder, cult-like, that he's just this wonderful, angel. But their best and most effective politicization is to turn around and say, oh, don't look at that. Look over here at these monsters, the transgender people. That's me, a transgender person.
Who are somehow or another infecting children with a trans spore.
Yeah,
so that we propagate like little mushrooms throughout the land.
Yeah, little mushrooms. That's kind of cute.
Just came to me.
Unless you've seen Last of Us.
In which case, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at the 2024 anti-trans bills tracker. And they say in 2024, anti-trans bills continue to be introduced across the country. We track legislation that seeks to block trans people from receiving basic health care, education, legal recognition, and the right to publicly exist, by which they mean mostly the bathroom bills. There are 593 bills. There are 42 states that are active with this. 42 bills have passed, have become law. 332 bills are active, including 2 or 3 in the Oregon legislature. They don't have much of a chance of pushing it through the Oregon legislature, but that's not going to stop them trying. And they're hoping for, of course, the huge anti-democratic fascist takeover in November. So keeping those on the books just in case they can push that through. So that's what we're fighting right now. There are 219 bills that have failed. So that's how it works. Like 219 such cruelty efforts have been pushed back, but 42 of them have passed through because people have been fooled into believing that kids can be transed. That's a word that's been Shakespeare'd. I'm okay with Shakespearean words, but not this one, because it's based on a lie. It's based on something very similar to the, and I'm not trying to compare, the American death camp isn't set up yet for trans people, but it's the same sort of thing as the blood libel, and actually contains some of its components. Not so much the well poisoning, but the poisoning the morals of the youth sort of thing. Poisoning of the blood. So hurrah for the 219 anti-trans bills that have failed. But when I look at states with bills in 2024, I don't know if that's 50, is that 50 states? But it's most states have got such efforts going on. So this is what is happening. And as Ani, we were talking earlier, and Ani pointed out that we had a little bit of slack between Stonewall and the present.
Well, and I wouldn't say it was slack so much. Let's get into a little of our history, since we started with some of our history.
About the OCA.
Yeah.
Take your rights away.
Well, I just, it's not exactly slack. I wouldn't say slack. I would say there was a hell of a movement that actually pushed for our rights to be accepted as fully human in this society. And so for myself, I was born in 66. Stonewall happened when I was 3 years old. not really aware of it, not really aware of much. Really excited about moons. I remember the moon landing, but that's really, that and my uh, poodle were really what I was excited about in life. Um, Later, however, when I was in junior high, I, well, realized that I was really attracted to girls. And I wasn't quiet about it. I didn't really talk about it hugely. I didn't stump in the recess hour and make fiery queer rights speeches. I just say, put pictures of Patti Smith in my locker, um, and maybe that sort of thing. And it was noticed. It was noticed by school bullies, and they wanted to know why I had pictures of Patti Smith or a David Bowie looking pretty dang femme in my locker. Why didn't I have like the normal posters in my locker? And then started, accusing me of being queer. And I didn't say I wasn't. This proceeded to, be 2 or 3 years of a whole lot of bullying, a whole lot of physical fighting, and starting to become aware that beyond Anita Bryant's crusade against queers, which was the only thing I'd ever heard about gay and lesbian people in 1977, 78. The only, when the only public thing I've ever heard about folks that like people of the same gender is that there's this crazy orange juice seller who is leading national crusades against us. I felt kind of bad about that. I was scared. I was scared to tell my family. I was realizing that this was a path that meant I was going to have to fight a lot. And I became a very good fighter um, out of sort of self preservation. Um, Eventually, I became aware that there were gay pride marches. The parade that happened through downtown Portland. I think the first one I went to was in 1980. And it was small, but it was so vibrant. It was so full of life. It was so full of in your faceness, straight society. We are here. We are queer. We are loud, and we are proud about it. Um, it made me so happy. I knew that as I could get a little more freedom from my folks and was allowed to ride the bus, across town, I could find folks like me. There were queer youth groups, and I had hope that I wasn't just going to live this lonely existence fighting in the corner. And so I ended up transferring schools. I went to a great alternative high school where queerness was just sort of accepted as a normal way of life. No one was beating anyone up for it. And it was so liberating. It was so cool. After school, that's about the time that ACT UP started and RATS started. And I was in college
Oh,
and
radical
we were
activist.
Radical Amazon Truth Squad.
Oh, okay.
And all of a sudden I am part of these ACT UP very uh, uh, public actions to say that queers are here, we're not going anywhere, fund healthcare for research into AIDS, and accept queers as part of our society.
We're here. We're queer. Get canapes. No, wait, that's not how it
That
went.
wasn't quite it, but yeah, along those lines, right? And then I started noticing, yes, as we're gaining acceptance, as we are gaining uh, these rights, slowly but surely, as we are gaining minor character roles on sitcoms and soap operas, as Oprah Winfrey has lesbians on to talk about their lives, as these things are happening, there was a sort of concurrent element, which was, I think, best expressed by the Lesbian Community Project in Portland, when they had a large campaign that said from the margins to the mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the first time I became exposed to what I've known since is the politics of respectability,
We need to
which
run this
is
like a business.
yeah. We are in the fight for our lives. So the philosophy went
Those words
because the OCA, the Oregon Citizens Alliance, which were nefarious and terrible, are legislating to take away the very small gains that we had made in those 20 some odd years, and that we cannot allow this to happen. So we need to make sure that we are not alienating our neighbors, and that we need to make sure everyone knows that we're just like them, except we just maybe like people of the same gender as we are. It's just such a little difference. Please don't hurt us. And I found this apologetic and repulsive because, in fact, I'm not just like mainstream America. I've never been just like mainstream America. And I don't think that's a worthy goal, considering what mainstream America has done for us. That is the sort of racist, patriarchalist, go along to get along status quo that my revolutionary heart wants to abolish. Right. And so I felt left cold by the Lesbian Community Project's major campaign. And then I realized that the queer movement was really splitting into those that say, hey, no, don't hurt us. Really, we're worthy of love and acceptance because we're just like you, and we're not going to rock the boat. We're not going to, shift the status quo. We're just Ellen DeGeneres writ large. And so, and then there were, those of us like, well, folks in ACT UP, folks like in the queer nation movement, saying we're not just like you, and we still deserve love and respect and acceptance into the society. We still deserve human rights, even if we believe that the class system has to flatten, even if we are anti-capitalist, even if we believe in liberatory politics overall, even if we actively work towards the inclusion of everyone in the queer rainbow, who we were really just starting to wrap our heads around how diverse our communities were, that we wanted to make that umbrella bigger and move forward with all of our queerdo selves saying, yeah, we are here for the liberation and not here for assimilation. And then every June since then, we, celebrate as we have gained more and more rights. And we have gained more and more rights, rights to employment, rights to housing. We even got the right to marry and join the army. Who knew?
Oh boy.
I know. Two rights I was never really, if I had my queer agenda, those were pretty far down that list. Anyways, but we got them, right? And so here we are. Yay! We're accepted in society.
I had a slightly different story.
And we'll get to your story because I know it's a really important story. But where I'm going with this is that we have made it, and now as we feel some sort of achievement, as we take June to celebrate queerness every month, I just want to remind folks that Pride is more than the throwing of rainbow glitter and the celebrations in the streets, which I'm going to say are important. Biodegradable rainbow glitter and partying in the streets and being loud and proud and public about it all is so super important. But it does not end there. And that has nothing to do with really looking at queers as a rainbow market to sell all of the, uh, gay pride accoutrement TM that every Amazon seller can possibly put forth.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm starting with this. And Teresa, what's your story?
Oh well, it was a little different.
Just a little.
So I was born in the late 50s, and there was this man that I was so close to this man. He was he was a drill sergeant in the Air Force during Korea, and so he got the GI Bill, and he was an accountant, and I would just, my heart was just bursting with love of this man. When I was like 2 years old, I would stand on his leg, and he'd bounce me into the air, and I just, there was just a highway of love between my eyes and his. But if you look at my eye really carefully, like, I don't know if you can see it in there. I'm a girl, and which is to say I'm an old lady, but at the time I was a girl, and this caused a bit of a rift between me and my dad. He was deeply concerned and very humiliated by the fact that I kept insisting that I was a girl. I can barely remember doing this. For a while I said that I didn't do it because I was so ashamed, but this is how it works. This is you love whoever's bringing you up. You're attached to them. You look in their eyes, and then one day he was freaked out about this. The way this little kid was acting. Little kid, toddler, went to the Southern Baptist preachers. And so, what do I do? In all earnestness, he wanted to know, what do you do about a kid like this? And they said, that's you cannot spare the rod. It will spoil the child. And this is a very serious thing, and you must beat it out of him. And so the one I love the most, because my mom, bless her soul, she really didn't want to have kids. She wanted to be a co-ed. She once showed me a scholarship that she'd gotten to Rice University that she wasn't able to use because of me, because she had raised kids. And, of course, it wasn't because of me. It was because of society. But
because of patriarchy.
Yeah. So, so I turned to my dad for love, and all of a sudden he was beating the snot out of me so much that my body would stiffen, and I thought I was going to die over and over and over. It's like, it's like emotional waterboarding. And my mind cracked. It absolutely cracked. And part of my mind went into dormancy. And then there was the good kid came to fore, and the good kid hated femininity and hated himself, because that was very important. To be sincere and to be a good person, I really, really, really needed to hate myself. And I told my folks this, I'll hate myself more than you can. I'll hurt myself more than you can. This is the basis of my personality. This caused some problems over the years. And I'm still taking, I took some therapy a decade ago, I guess, and I'm taking some more therapy now. And the more you get into therapy, the more it's like, wow, my mind was broken by anti-queer ideology. So, yeah. What Ani is saying about the queer movement, well, I missed most of that because, to bring it up at all is to put me into a fugue state as I struggle with my self-hatred. And yet I am intersex, I am feminine, I am a trans woman. And so my relation to pride organization activity right up to this point in my life, and I'm in my mid-60s, is I haven't. I can't, I might show up, but I still have to get over hating myself. And that's what happens. Actually, what usually happens is people kill themselves. And so there was a man who saw this happening in Germany in the early part of the 20th century. And his name was Magnus Hirschfeld, and I think his name should be remembered. And we're already 25 minutes into the show, so I'm not going to go deep into Magnus Hirschfeld. Maybe next time, maybe next week, I can talk about Magnus Hirschfeld.
Go ahead and talk about him.
Okay, a little bit. He was a doctor, and he set up a thing called the Institute for Sexual Knowledge, Institute for Sexual Wissenschaft, in Germany, near Berlin, Charlottensburg. And he learned a lot. He was himself gay, and he pushed for exceptions and cutouts in the German Weimar Republic Code. Weimar Republic being the German state before the Nazis, and he actually succeeded in getting recognition for his little passes, which what he called transvestites would pull out of their dresses and say, "Look, I have a pass. I've been checked out. I'm okay. I won't trans you." Maybe that's where they're coming from. Although that word, wouldn't come around until 100 years later.
Yeah.
And he also pushed the legislature not to come down on lesbians. But he had very little success in such things. And the first book burning that the Nazis ever did was to tear down his sexual Wissenschaft, to burn mountains of books that he had collected about 50 years of research. Now, I don't mean his personal research, but I mean his books went back to 50 years of other people considering, what the spectrum of human sexuality was all about and why we should be humane in treating people as equals and not get all worked up about these Nazi ideas that only a strict heterosexuality is pure. And the more you look at that sort of thing, you can see how crazy it is. But the Nazis really didn't want people thinking it out, and so they burned thinking. They burned his sexual institute in 1919. Was it? No. It was after that. 29. He was driven out of Germany. He died in exile. His sister died of a broken heart in Germany, and the place was, scattered, and all the Germans knew that they were much better than those gay people, and they couldn't possibly be gay themselves. And I could get into all other sorts of sarcasm, which seemed unnecessary most of my life until the last couple of years, when it seems that Americans are crazy with the idea that the Nazis were somehow good in some way. The stinking madness that took over and rotted the brains of Germans in the mid-20th century is a good fit for Americans now. Well, it's not. And I'll talk more about Hirschfeld next week.
And so I guess one of our major points in wanting to do this show today was to sort of lay some groundwork for the fact that we're going to bring just pieces of radical queer history, or queer history, I suppose, as we should say, to the forefront, and actually have a sort of section of queer history here over the next month or so, because I can find it to Pride Month, right? So anyway, I just wanted to sort of lay the groundwork, because when we don't know our history, when we don't know how we have started, we kind of have to reinvent that wheel over and over again. And so it's really important to remember that Stonewall was a riot. It was not a Madison Avenue marketing campaign. It was not a genteel, gee golly, if you might take your boot off our necks, we'd kind of like to have some human rights.
Yeah, I wasn't wearing 4 square inches of duct tape and going down the street going, no, while the cops stand by. It was fighting the cops.
It was fighting the cops. It was resisting arrest in a huge way. There are so many wonderful documentaries that have been made about the Stonewall riots, 3 days of rioting that happened June 28th, 1969 was the start of it.
Led by trans women, I'm happy to say.
I believe it was the day that Judy Garland died. And so there were raids that went on aplenty during that time in queer bars. But I've heard the story told in several of the documentaries that night people were so upset about the death of Judy Garland, that they couldn't take it anymore. And this is what sort of was like, no, not tonight. We're done with this. And that is sort of the impetus that started it off. And I'm just going to read this excerpt in case you're not familiar with Sylvia Rivera. She was one of the folks at the original Stonewall, at the riots. And she spoke 4 years later at the Christopher Street Liberation Day rally in 1973.
She and Marsha started the shit.
Well, Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson were certainly some of the loudest voices and some of the heaviest fighters in the initial raids, for sure, and continued to go on organizing for queer liberation. And just to point out that both of those women, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, were trans women or genderqueer. At the time, they identified as transvestites
That's what
because
you said, yeah.
that was the parlance. Um, anyway, here's the excerpted speech. She says, "Y'all better quiet down. I've been trying to get up here all day for your gay brothers and gay sisters in jail that write me every motherfucking week and ask for your help, and y'all don't do a goddamn thing for them. Have you never been beaten up and raped in jail? Now think about it. They've been beaten up and raped after they've had to spend so much time and money, so much of their money in jail to get their inaudible part of speech and try to get their sex changes. The women have tried to fight for their sex changes or to become women. On the women's liberation, and they write star, not to the women's groups. They do not write women, they do not write men, they write star because we're actually trying to do something for them. And star, I'm trying to remember what that acronym actually stood for. I need to go up here. Street Transvestites Action Revolutionaries. Street
Revolutionary.
Transvestites Action Revolutionaries is what STAR stood for. She says, she continues on, I have been to jail. I have been raped. I have been beaten many times by men, heterosexual men that do not belong in the homosexual shelter. But do you do anything for me? No. You tell me to go hide my tail between my legs. I will not put up with this shit. I have been beaten. I have had my nose broken. I have been thrown in jail. I've lost my job. I have lost my apartment for gay liberation. And you all treat me this way. What the fuck is wrong with you? Think about that.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but
and I love Sylvia Rivera's speech. That is, that's when we start accepting the politics of respectability, because we think we might be able to get a little crumb thrown to us by conservatives and patriarchs. We are selling out most of our movement, and we are giving aid and comfort to our oppressors. So I'm here to remind us all that Stonewall was a riot, and it was a riot for inclusivity. It was a riot for human rights. It was a riot against the carceral state and police violence. It was an act against the violence directed at our community that tries to keep us down. We say no.
30 years with this fireball. I love her so much my hair turned green.
So you are watching. This is now Bridge to a Better World. Please hit the like button if you are watching this video. And I dare say you're watching this video if you heard me say that. So hit the like button. Please, we would love to grow our subscribership. Pass this around. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And I'm ready to start talking to you.
Okay. And the last thing I would like to say is please remember and look up Magnus Hirschfeld. There's a new Wikipedia expanded article on him, and it's good. It's good.
And we can have, we have homework assignments. This week, look up Magnus Hirschfeld. We'll come up with something for next week. But we really appreciate your engagement and involvement.
Thanks for the comments.
Let's see. Yeah, share this video, please. So we have, we're at the new moon. This is the time that we transition now into the community tarot forecast for this next week. And basically, as the new moon starts, we have a new chance to, as the new moon starts, we have a chance to really go forward, dream big, and think about creating that world we want to have. Right? This is our every new moon. We get sort of a blank slate to start thinking about how we want to develop in this next lunation, in this next moon cycle. And so I am personally really focusing on liberation, the politics of liberation, the life experience of liberation. This is um, how we push the envelope, how we enjoy. I think to me, part of liberation is enjoyment. And so, taking in the pleasure and knowing that we are free, we just have to actually get the laws to agree with that. Right. So that's living our liberation. So, what the cards say, we have the Ace of Swords. We have, why do I never know how to do this on this camera? We have the Ace of Swords. We have the Seven of Pentacles. And we have the King of Swords all together here this morning.
Swords and Pentacles.
Yeah. So what does it all mean? Well, we have, in fact, been working very hard, making all of the commitments that we need to make, doing the work. We've been taking the baby steps, and they're paying off because, in fact, it is time for us to lead. It is time for us to sort of take a front seat and to really push our way forward, take leadership position, and look for transformational opportunities.
Butterflies.
Transformational opportunities.
Got it.
Yes.
I get it.
Look, there's symbolism in these cards. And then the Ace of Swords reminds us that we have to always keep an open mind, always invite new ideas, and look for those new inspirational moments that we can figure things out. We can apply analysis in just a little bit. Look at, if we move just a little this way, all the pieces fit together better, right? And so open minds, receiving new ideas. Ideas are in the air. They're popping like crazy right now. We are in Gemini, which is a very communicative, idea-oriented sign. I am with a Gemini right now, so that's always good.
And so are you.
I am not. But my Venus is a Gemini. Anyways, I digress. So that open to new ideas, making sure that we are ready to jump in and take leadership roles in our communities and to push this movement forward. And why do we get these opportunities? Because we have done some serious work. We have really been nurturing those ideas, nurturing our communities, and we are at this point ready to take it further. So that's what I got for this week's card reading.
Yeah, and I want to thank y'all for your strong advocacy. And there's a couple of y'all that stick your necks out, and I do appreciate it. And I do notice. Thank you.
And so with that, please do hit the like button. Thank you all so much for joining us this week. We'll be back next week with more topics and a segment on radical queer history.
Yep.
And Magnus Hirschfeld.
Love ya. Oh, time for the airplanes.
Oh.
And all the ships at sea. Bye.